that steam rising off the fence, absolutely beautiful. I wish I knew a bit more about science, because then I would know why that's happening. I guess it's evaporating or something, but it looks really pretty and I love it. And I might not understand exactly why it's happening, but I'll bet I could paint it and I bet it would look great. So there's an arrangement I made for a friend that I'll be delivering tomorrow, but I was so pleased with it that I thought I'd just document it, and it would make nice footage for my vlog anyway. And what I really like is that the container it's in is actually a little bit too big. The proportions are a little bit too big. It would probably look better in a slightly smaller one, but because it's slightly too big, it's giving a really chunky country vibe, and I actually really love it. And it's a really fun thing to be able to make a professional posy, and I do encourage you to check out my playlist on this channel, Professional Floristry Tips, where I do show you how to make one of these, because they're really wow people, and they're actually surprisingly simple. And I love this one because it came out so tight and chunky, and yeah. Sometimes when I make an arrangement, I don't really want to lose it, but it's not like a piece of painting or writing. You are going to lose it because they die. That's why they're a picture in the Bible of our mortality. The grass withers and the flowers fade, but the word of our God endures forever. But of course with the camera I can capture it a little bit. What do you think? How did I do? Yeah, look at that. The kittens love the garden because the courgettes all rotted down to this really soft mulch, I suppose, and they love going in there and playing in it. Oh, where's the little orange one? Oh, the orange one. Oh, yeah, the orange one's crawling through the fence that we used to grow the tomatoes up against. I just thought I'd show you that cute little view I saw as I did the dishes, and I need to clean this window. That's enough filming from me. Hello all, it's Ruthie. As you know, Mum and Dad are in England, which means I am having my morning coffee by myself, which I usually take with Mum, and we usually talk about writing, but sometimes it can get a bit weird because Mum and me are both of a mystical disposition. It's the Shetland Island blood, tends to be rather strong in the mystical strain. And we can get a bit weird, and since Mum's not around, I guess I'm going to just get weird with you, which is probably an ill-advised decision considering I'll put this on the internet, but I'm going to do it anyway. The other day, about 2 weeks ago, I had this horrible moment of self-revelation. I did not enjoy it at all. I realised I am a pretty big liar. And that was a shock to me because I've always considered myself to be a very honest person because, you know, I don't lie to go around manipulating people or deceiving people or gaining advantage over people. But, yeah, I realised that I tell a lot of lies in the sense that when I get into certain situations, and sometimes if I was just more direct and I was just a lot more direct, I would get a lot less problems. And I realised the reason I'm not all that direct is that I'm not very direct with myself. And I think a lot of that is because, you know, New Zealanders, we're Westerners, but we're pretty indirect Westerners. We're very, we're very different in that regard. We can be very, very subtle. And I realised, and this can be a real cultural strength, but I realised that if it's like a spectrum and you have tact and sensitivity here and not chopping people's limbs off with your mouth, and that's over here, which New Zealanders do tend to be pretty good at. But then I realised this is the barrier, right, between the land of tact and sensitivity. Here's the barrier, and over here there are outright lies. And I realised the other day, oh my gosh, I cross the barrier regularly, and I was just appalled because it says in the Bible you shouldn't tell lies, and I'm like, yeah, I'm telling them, and I was so self-deceived that it was actually flying under my radar as even telling them. So bitter experience has taught me that I am incapable of improving myself. The times I have got in the arena with a failing and had a little fisticuffs with the sin in my life, I have always lost, and the sin has got bigger. It's really weird and quite depressing. So yeah, when I see a big sin in my life, and being a habitual liar seems to me to be a really bad sin, actually, I now react to it like it's a person lying on the road after a car accident, and my first action is just do nothing. Do nothing, do nothing. Get the professional in. So I left it alone. I was very appalled, and initially I didn't even want to tell God about it because I was so ashamed. And then I thought, this is so thick. He's not going to be shocked I'm a liar. He's just going to be happy I noticed I'm a liar. So I went to God and I was like, I tell a lot of lies, and I don't think I've got the power to stop. And I want to stop. I don't like being a liar. I don't feel good about it. But I said to God, I don't. Actually, I know I don't have the power to stop, because I said I've never been able to stop any bad behaviour in my life. And, you know, the only thing that seems to really change me is telling you about it, and then you sort it. So I said, I don't want to be a liar. I really don't want to be a liar. So I said, can you sort it, please? And so I kept saying this for about 2 weeks. I just remember whenever I thought of it, or I would catch myself in the process of lying, I would try and stop. And then I would say to God, see, I'm a liar. I need you to look at that. I'm doing it again. I need you to help me, because I can't fix this. I can't fix it at all. Anyway, this is where it gets weird. And this is what usually would be inflicted upon Mum. And yeah, so you'll see what an advantage it is to the world that I live with someone most of the time, because yes, I'm going to tell you a very weird story. I had the most strange dream last night. I came down our staircase, and there was this thing standing in our entranceway, and it was very big. It was about as tall as a man, an average sized man, and it had these little legs and little feet on it, and it had these little noodly arms with little hands, and it had quite appealing googly eyes, these big googly eyes. It sort of looked like something Pixar might produce. It was very solid, and it was like a big grey blob, and it was covered all over with these enormous grey spikes. It was very spiky. You know how, it's a very nasty weapon, but you know how those medieval knights had those long pieces of wood, and then they had like a chain, and then they had very spiky ball. I think they might have been called maces or mace, or yeah, I don't know. I could draw one, but yeah, it looked like that, like this enormous, long, oblong, grey, spiky mace, and it had these it had these big eyes, and it was quite smiley, and it was weird. And in the dream, I said, what are you? Because I'd never seen an animal like this before in my life. So it looked at me, and it got this smile on its face. It actually was a really cute creature, or whatever. It was quite cute. It was like, and it said, I am the spirit of truth. Embrace me, and I will set you free. And I looked at all these spikes covering it, and I thought, I don't think so. I was like, ah. Anyway, in the dream, I thought, because the door behind it was open, it had obviously let itself in. I was like, I'll just go about my day, and this thing, whatever this thing is, it's just going to get bored and go away. So I was walking through the house dusting. I think I was dusting. I was doing housework in the dream. That was a bit vague. What wasn't vague is this thing came pattering along behind me on its little feet, and it was really repetitive, and it just kept saying, I am the spirit of truth. Embrace me, and I will set you free. And I thought, it'll get bored, it'll go away. And it did not get bored in the dream. Anyway, it just went on and on and on until must be how Mum felt when I was a kid and I used to just follow behind her talking all the time. Anyway, I was a bit fed up with it, so I turned around and I said to it in the dream, I said, obviously really wanted a hug, and I didn't want to hurt its feelings, because it was quite it wasn't a nasty creature, it was just a very persistent creature. So I turned around and I said to it, Mr. Spirit of Truth, and in the dream it looked very happy that I was addressing it. I said, Mr. Spirit of Truth, I would like to embrace you, but you are covered with spikes and I am afraid. And then it got its little noodly, had like this thinnest little noodly arm you ever saw with this little hand on the end. It was actually very cute. And this little noodly hand came out and it took my wrist very politely. It was a very polite animal. And then it just took my hand and it put it on one of the spikes. And the spike was rubber. It wasn't metal at all, it was rubber. And I realised this whole creature was covered with rubber bristles, not metal spikes. So I gave it a hug, and it gave me a hug back with its little noodly arms, and then it said in a very pleased voice, it said, I am the Spirit of Truth, and I have set you free. And then I woke up, and my first thought was, what a weird dream. And then my second thought was, maybe that's true, maybe that's exactly why I don't tell the truth, because I'm afraid of the problems it might bring me, but maybe there actually aren't any problems with telling the truth, and if I just embrace telling the truth, it'll set me free, and I won't actually have any problems. So I was like, anyway, it was a weird dream, and as I say, Mum is not here for me to inflict it upon her, so I thought I'd inflict it upon you, because have camera, we'll talk. Oh, look at this, you guys. So I gave him the biggest plate I could find because I thought he wouldn't spread it. Well, that certainly didn't work, and looks like I'm going to be mopping this morning. Hello, pig. Hello. Hello. Oh, you don't even want it all. Filthy beast, yet so cute. So there's this noisy thing outside the door, outside the front garden, called a ditch witch, and I don't actually know what a ditch witch is, but it appears to have some sort of long pipe on the end of it, and I suppose they're cleaning out the drains or something. Anyway, it makes me think a bit of Plumbo Jumbo in the last episode of Jeeves and Wooster, which I recommend to anyone. It's so funny. And I thought I'd put this up because it's just the sort of thing that Mum and Dad would find extremely interesting. See, I'm not the weird one, Mum and Dad are the weird one. And since they keep putting up pictures of castles and palaces and great art collections, I thought I'd put this up on my vlog, because apparently Mum's watching it in the UK, to say, ha ha ha, you may have got castles to look at, but I've got to look at a ditch witch, even though I actually have no idea what a ditch witch is. I should probably go and Google it. It looks like it's got a tail. Look, it looks like it's got a tail, and now it's moved next door. Alright, I admit it, I am the weird one. I'm fascinated by that thing. I want to know what it is so much. I am my parents' daughter and I can't help myself. So I was responsible and I cut back our rhubarb for winter, as is suggested. But of course this is Australia, so it's growing rhubarb again. I thought, oh well, I think I'll go and get some walnuts from Woolworths, because I remember when I was a child there was this particularly delicious muffin Mum used to make, and I think it had rhubarb, walnuts and nutmeg, and I'm pretty sure I can develop something like it. So I'm going to potter off and get walnuts, and oh guys, look at this. I think this is so cute. Look at this. Look at my strawberry. I got this from Woolworths. Quite chuffed with this, I am. Oops. Look at that. It's not just a charm. Marvellous. I got that for $2 and I thought, wow, that's pretty cute, and it actually hangs pretty nicely off my bag, doesn't it, along with my enormous tassel. So yes, I'm going to go off and get some walnuts and make some delicious, well, I hope, delicious muffins. Exciting. I love camellias. One of my most favourite flowers in the world. I might like them even more than roses, actually. And did you know that tea is in the camellia family? It might even be a camellia. I'm not sure. I have to look that up. But this one's particularly magnificent, isn't it? Gorgeous. Especially against the blue sky. It's one of Grandad's favourite flowers, a jonquil. And it's confused, it thinks it's spring. I told you that happens in Australia quite a lot. Oh, I bet Grandad's growing those up in heaven. Oh, you guys, I can't believe this. You know how I told you at the start of the week that I've been praying that God would make me less of a liar and I'd learn to be more direct. I just had something happen and I've got no one else to talk to about it, so I thought I'd talk to you about it. I just had a phone call and it was one of those, you know, those scam artists who ring up and they say there's something wrong with the internet and there isn't. And then they try and get into your bank account. Well, I knew what it was. I knew it was a scam. And usually I don't know, so I'm not interested in hang out. But this time, because he started doing his lie, this time, without even thinking, I heard myself say it very politely. I said, "Sir, lying is a sin and it puts a barrier between you and God, and that creates a blockage on your ability to get your prayers answered. So I recommend you work on that. Have a nice day." And then I hung up the phone. I can't believe it because I told the truth. I told the truth, and that's just the sort of truth I would usually never tell. I was so excited. Hello all. I had a bit of a light bulb situation. I thought, no worries, I'll light candles. And then once I lit the candles, I realised how much it made me think of my childhood, because when I was growing up we had a second property in the country, and as per the New Zealand dream, Mum and Dad built a cottage on it, and then of course they did not connect it to the grid, because when you're a New Zealander, for some reason the absolute dream is to have a second property that has no electricity attached to it and you use it for weekends. So every Friday we used to rush to get out there before it got dark, because then we could get the candles lit, because you really wanted the candles all lit before it got really dark, because it was so dark you couldn't see anything. You could just be stumbling around, and it it just made me think of that. And the other day Mum came to me and she said, "Did you know that your violin teacher, Mrs. Foote, has a YouTube channel?" And I said, "No, I didn't." And she said, "Well, she does, and it's lovely." And I went and looked on it, and you guys, it made me think so much of, in many ways, how I grew up, at least for part of the week, because we ended up living more and more out in the country in this cottage. But generally, it started off just with the weekend. It just really made me think of how I grew up. So it's a really lovely YouTube, and I strongly recommend you go and check it out, and I'll put a link in the comment section below. And now, as much as I love you all, I'm going to turn off the camera and the big lighting ring, because it's really ruining the my illusion of being up north in New Zealand with no electricity. So yeah, bye-bye. There you go, guys. There are my rhubarb and walnut muffins with nutmeg, and I've got to say, of all the recipes I've been trying out lately, these ones make the house smell the best. The house smells so nice at the moment. And I actually sweetened the rhubarb properly this time. In fact, the rhubarb mixture was so delicious, I could have just eaten it by itself, and it probably would have been better for me if I did, but I really wanted to try out a rhubarb muffin recipe, because we used to have them when I was a kid, and I was just feeling a little bit nostalgic, I think is the word. I will try and get the recipe up on my blog at some point. I'm getting a little bit slack with the blog at the moment, recipe wise, but I will do my best. Anyway, this concludes the daily doings at Rosebank House. Thank you so much for following along, and I hope you have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.